It's hot, so I'm about to take this wig off, but I had to get with you guys real quick first. Today I got to speak at the Church of the Covenant, one of the oldest Presbyterian institutions in Cleveland, and I got to debut my framework, my EAR framework, which stands for Equity, Accountability, and Reconciliation. I'm Asia. I write about race, privilege, and power, and loving yourself as a radical act. You might as well like and subscribe because I know you want to be my friend. So anyway, one of the things that I think is really important is to not be reactive to fascism, but instead to be proactive and work on building new systems outside of the current paradigm. And sometimes letting go of the past means letting go of things we have strong emotional attachments to, like diversity, equity, and inclusion. DEI was in its death throes long before November 5th, but I think that we can call it right now that it is officially dead. And I don't think that's a bad thing. I think that it creates an opportunity for those of us who are looking to move forward to create a framework that works even better for more people. If you think about it, there's diversity in any room that has more than one person in it. Even in rooms that look empty, there's biodiversity, germs, microorganisms all over the place. So this makes diversity really easy to attain because it really means anybody that's not a cishet white man, but it also makes it very hard to define and ultimately makes it meaningless. Now, equity is interesting because equity actually is measurable. But instead of using equity as a metric in the framework of DEI, we use it like some sort of vague ideal that, I don't know, that we're going to get to one day, like MLK's dream or something. And that is not what it is. Equity is value after assets and liabilities. So it's not about what feels good or even what people want. It's about what people are owed. Now, I understand America not wanting to have this conversation because at this point, the debt is literally astronomical. But as any millennial in the world can tell you, ignoring your bills does not make it go away. And inclusion is the worst word of all. Inclusion says, it's my party, but you can come or whatever. And I think that's what they're really getting at with all of these calls to make America Caucasian again. The power to include or exclude entire groups socially is one of the hallmark powers of white supremacy. So diversity, equity, and inclusion in and of themselves promote and reinforce structures of white supremacy. Now, not all hope is lost because there are other frameworks. One of the frameworks that I've heard is like an equity first framework. And I didn't know about that when I was coming up with my own acronym. And my acronym is equity, accountability, and reconciliation. So instead of asking who's in the room, we're asking who gets the full value of being in the room. That's equity. Equity is making sure that everyone gets the full value of being in the room. And to put it in homiletical terms, because y'all know I love Jesus, this is the true definition of the kingdom of heaven, where everyone is accounted for, everyone is provided for, and everyone has equal status. So that's equity. Accountability. Nothing about us without us. We need to stop assuming that we know what other people need, especially when asking them is an option. Advocacy is great, but it's not always necessary. Why y'all advocating for people who are there, who can speak for themselves? A lot of times assumed needs do not translate to actual needs. For example, Pew Research Center said in 2010 that educational attainment, ability to maintain savings, and a positive family structure were the 3 keys to upward economic mobility. 15 years later, we're finding out that those are the 3 keys to upward economic mobility for white people, but that doesn't necessarily apply to other demographics. In fact, statistically speaking, Black women are the most educated and least paid people in the United States. You don't know nothing about that. Which means that getting a college degree is not as beneficial to a Black woman as it is to a white man. In fact, Black women with college degrees make on average less than white high school dropouts. Let that simmer. So to all the do-gooders who be do-gooding, Stop assuming you know what people want and just ask them, because in an economy where eggs are $7 a carton, most people just want money. Yeah, crazy how that works. Now, I'm not saying that there aren't other issues that need to be addressed. I'm saying it's hard to address them on an empty stomach. Matter of fact, we're going to make this an experiment, okay? Bookmark this. For those of you who are watching this, who are Palm Americans, I want you to ask a Black person in your life, is it okay if I send you some money? And let me know who says no. Let me know what the responses are. Put that in the comments. Because if you're asking me, baby, the answer is yes, absolutely. Right now. Here's my hashtag. Accountability, not advocacy. And last is reconciliation. And I love the concept of reconciliation because it's kind of borrowed from a restorative justice framework. And in that framework, it's not about punishing, right? It is about restoring relationships. So this allows people who have been harmed to say what they need from the person who harmed them. I was watching a documentary about restorative justice, and one of the things was that one of the women had her daughter unalived in an act of violence, and she didn't want the person to go to jail. What she wanted was to know her daughter's last words. That's what felt like justice to her. That's what satisfaction was for her in that scenario. So reconciliation acknowledges that everybody doesn't necessarily want or need the same things, and it keeps the injured party from being tied to the timetable of the person doing the harm. Like, it's crazy that we have to wait for racial justice until we can get everyone to agree that racial injustice exists. Make it make sense. Reconciliation is horizontal. You have to have two parties in agreement for that to happen. So one party can be like, okay, I did my time, I'm ready to move on. And the other party is not ready to move on. Guess what? It's not reconciliation. This empowers people who have been harmed to keep going until they get what they need. And it also empowers people who have done the harming to not have to chase an impossible, unattainable carrot around. Because if you know what the target is, you can hit it. So all in all, I know that it's been really hurtful and heartbreaking to watch bill after bill get passed. There's 30 anti-DEI bills that have been introduced since 2023, and 14 of them have passed. And I know that sounds discouraging, but actually I see it as an opportunity to start over with a new foundation that actually supports liberation. So